From the News Channel 5 network, this is Inside Politics.
If you entrust me with the presidency, I will draw on the best of us, not the worst. I'll be an ally of the light, not the darkness. It's time for us, for we the people, to come together.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. In a presidential election year, the late summer conventions of the Democrats and the Republicans to confirm their national tickets always provides an important milestone to assess where the race for president is and how we look as we go towards the fall campaign. With the Democratic convention being held this past week, how were things different in this always different year of 2020? And what does it mean looking ahead to the Republican convention next week and the final vote in November? The chair of the Tennessee Democratic Party, Mary Mancini, joins us on Inside Politics this week to discuss those topics and others. Mary, welcome back to the program.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Due to COVID-19 and the pandemic, both conventions were held virtually this year, are going to be held virtually. You've attended multiple national conventions. You would have been in Milwaukee. How was it doing? How would it feel like attending the convention from the comforts of your own home?
Well, it was really interesting and very different, but the thing that was important to us and me as the chair is that our delegates who worked so hard to become delegates had some sort of convention experience, right? They didn't get to go to Milwaukee, but we wanted them to feel as if they were a part of everything that was going on. And between what the TNDP did and what the DNC did, they really did have a great experience, even though they didn't travel. So that was of the utmost important to us, and it worked out really well. We had some great events with great nationally known Democrats that came to speak with us, elected Democrats from all across the state that came to speak to our delegation virtually. So it was, and a big celebration of the 19th Amendment on Tuesday night, a multi-state celebration that we hosted. So we feel we really did give them a great experience. So you liked the virtual format? Did you watch most of it on the networks? Did you watch the party feed itself? And what were your thoughts about how that format worked? So a little bit of both, really, depending on what the time of day was, but mostly on the networks. It was the way that I watched it myself. And no, it was, it was great, right? I think the best thing about this convention was that it was able to show just who we are as America, right? When we talked about, it doesn't matter who you are or what you look like or where you live or how you pray or who you love. Everybody wants access to a better life. Everyone wants to be healthy and happy and successful and have a job and make their children's lives better than theirs. We presented that in a way that showed what America really looks like and who America really is. And that was, the diversity of that piece of it, showing that young, old, black, white, just a whole host of different people, but we all want the same thing, right? So that togetherness is really what was the best part about this convention. And they were able to do that, I think, mostly because it was held virtually.
The virtual format, I think a lot of people were afraid it was going to be some big unwieldy Zoom call, but some parts of it, particularly the roll call, seemed to go over very well. Is that likely to be something that might be incorporated even in future conventions?
Well, if I had to say, I would hope so. I would say, yes, do it that way. I mean, it really did. Again, it showed the best. Instead of just looking at a group of people, what you got to see was the beauty that is the fabric of America. E pluribus unum, out of many one. And you could just see how different each state was through that roll call. And that really it was a beautiful thing. And yes, they should absolutely keep it that way.
There were some canned parts of it, particularly some of the canned applause that seemed to come after some of the speeches. There wasn't any applause. There weren't any crowds in any of this. That didn't come over very well. There are some parts of it that still need to be tweaked, and I suspect the Republicans have been studying that, and we'll see if they do that next week or if they've been able to put together a roll call like that by this time next week.
We'll see if they study. I mean, the past has shown they don't study anything. But perhaps they will study the convention and learn from it. But I think that was to be expected, right? There were some parts of it where you automatically expect either a loud cheer or, it's kind of like thinking about watching a sitcom and there's always a laugh track, right? If it's missing, you miss it. And I think that was the situation here. But it was a great experience, and I would give it definitely a 9.5 out of 10. Now
the Republicans are also going to be looking at the ratings for their convention next week. The Democrats were not nearly as good as they were 4 years ago. In fact, it was somewhere between 25 to 40%, depending on the night. We have not seen the ones yet for Thursday night, the final night. Is that a bad sign for a virtual format, and more importantly, a bad sign for the Biden-Harris ticket?
No, I don't think so. I think we're so used to looking at those kinds of numbers coming out of something that is specifically shown on network TV or on the networks. The thing that the DNC did this year is that they made it a point of saying, here are the multiple platforms on which you can watch it, including game consoles, right? Including computers, including YouTube, and in addition to the network. So there were about 8 different ways in which people could watch this convention. So I think those numbers really don't show the exact audience that the DNC convention had, and I think it may be hard to tell, right? Because again, so many different platforms. You were able to watch on so many different platforms.
Now, the parties usually rely on getting some kind of boost for their ticket coming out of the convention. The last couple of cycles for this, every 4 years, it's been somewhere between 3 to 5%. What do you predict we'll see next week in terms of a rating boost for the Biden ticket, Harris-Biden ticket?
I think it's going to be definitely a bump, and I think what's going to happen is usually what happens is the convention that goes first gets a bump, and then the convention that goes second gets a bump. I think what we're going to see is we got a bump. The Republicans are going to go, and it's going to be just a miserable affair, just fear, full of fear, and it's just going to be not optimistic and not hopeful. And they're not going to get a bump, and we're just going to continue to increase and increase and increase.
Tennessee Democratic Party Chair Mary Mancini is our guest on Inside Politics. Back to continue our conversation after this break.
I keep thinking about that 25-year-old Indian woman, all of 5 feet tall, who gave birth to me at Kaiser Hospital in Oakland, California. On that day, she probably could have never imagined that I would be standing before you now and speaking these words. I accept your nomination for Vice President of the United States of America.
This is a Storm 5 weather update. For weather on the go, download the Storm Shield app.
Hi, everyone. I'm News Channel 5 meteorologist Leland Salem on a Friday.